So the other day I got a challenge that I'd never tackled before. A mom wrote me and she said that her daughter's a freshman. She's going into her first year of college. Last year's been a really tough year for kids. Many of them been isolated. Her daughter has some ideas on what she'd like to do in terms of her major, but she's suffering from a crisis of confidence, especially because everyone's been so isolated in the last year. What tips do I have to offer? So in today's video, I'm sharing some tips on ways that you can help your child be more confident when it comes to public speaking. Number one is to acknowledge the fear. Everyone, including adults, has fears of being judged. What if I say the wrong thing? What if nobody likes me? What if nobody wants to hear what I have to say? All of these are fears that adults have. So acknowledge that and say it's okay because I have these fears too. Number two, and this applies to adults as well, watch the self-talk. Watch your talk track. What are you saying to yourself? I remember being in fourth grade and every Friday was current events day. We had to get up in front of the class one by one and tell a story about a current event. And I remember telling a story about Sally Ride, who was going into space, and talking about that. I was in fourth grade. I was young. But the talk track that I had in my head was, even if I trip up, it's okay. I've practiced this. I've memorized this. If I trip up, it's okay. The world is not going to end. So really watch the self-talk. In fact, you can do one step further and actually write down what it is that's going through your head and then talk about it. Like, is this statement rational? And what's the worst case scenario? If the worst case scenario were to happen, and outline that and talk about it. Could you handle it? The final tip, and the most powerful tip that I'm going to offer, is how to engage in conversation. And this is probably the quickest way and the easiest way and the most accessible way to overcome your fear of public speaking. All right, the formula that you can follow is to make the other person feel seen, feel heard, and feel remembered. So let me give you an example. A great way to be seen is to walk up to somebody and say, "Gosh, I really love your shoes. Where did you get those fantastic heels?" Now you've seen them physically and you've acknowledged that there's something about their appearance that you really, really like. The next step is to be heard. If you're a college freshman and you're just entering campus, an easy thing to say is, "So I'm from California. What state are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Idaho." "Great. What do you love about Idaho?" Now this person gets a chance to be heard because they're telling you what they love about where they grew up. "Oh, I lived on a big horse ranch. My parents were ranchers." "Oh, wow, your parents were ranchers. How exciting is that?" Now that one detail is something that you can use to follow up again and again, and hopefully you will. But a way to follow up is like, "Hey, I saw this story about horse ranching the other day, and I thought of you." You know, it's a great way to follow up. All right, some of the other pieces of conversation that are really, really important, and we covered off a little bit on this, but what does it mean to start a conversation? How do you initiate a conversation? "Hi, I'm Joya. It's nice to meet you. What brings you to this event?" Or "What brings you to this mixer?" Number two, how to continue a conversation. Let's say the person gave you a one-word answer and they say, "Well, my friend brought me." A great way to continue the conversation is use the words yes and. "Yes, and who's your friend? I'd love to meet them." Number three, how do you contribute to a conversation when it's already underway? Well, I like to walk up to the folks in the room that are having a party, it looks like, or at least having the most fun, and do a little bit of listening first. And when appropriate, I will break in with, "That reminds me of." So let's say a conversation is underway and people are talking about the politics of the day, and I can say, "That reminds me of an article that I read the other day." This is your opening into a conversation that's already underway. The fourth thing is how to respond when you are introduced. Let's say your friend introduces you and says, "Hey, this is my friend Sally. She's from Idaho and her parents are ranchers." Sally could come back and say, "Yeah, I really love horses. I grew up riding horses and I wonder how I'm going to be able to continue that passion here in XYZ." In other words, a confident person would come back and acknowledge what the other person said and provide a supporting statement. An inconfident person would say, "Yeah, but I haven't been on a horse since I was 4, so I've forgotten all about it." An inconfident person would negate the other statement. A confident person would come back and say what they loved about what their parents did about ranching and what they loved about horses too. Hey, I teach a public speaking masterclass to women, although this video is for kids. If you would like to enroll in the next masterclass, just DM me at joyadas.com, JOYADASS. You can also follow me here, subscribe to my channel, and I usually have a video every single week that can teach you how to have confidence in public speaking.